History remembers the facts, but what about the phantoms that refuse to be forgotten? Welcome back to The Common Historian, where history meets the supernatural. I'm Jeremy, and each week we explore the haunting intersections between our past and the paranormal. Tonight, I'm joined by Joe and Serenity of Other Side Investigations out of Buffalo, New York, and their mission is to capture real, compelling evidence that life exists beyond this world. So grab your favorite beverage, dim the lights, and prepare to journey into a world where history refuses to stay buried. Welcome, Joe and Serenity. Welcome to the Common Historian.
Thank you. Really happy to be on. Thank you for having us.
I'm excited for this conversation. I think I first discovered you guys. I watched one of your Wildwood lives, possibly when you were at Wildwood. And then I really started to kind of follow you guys after that. I'm excited that you guys are on here tonight. Can you tell me and my viewers about Other Side Investigations? How did you two get started and what drove you to form kind of your group?
So for me, I've never really not believed in the paranormal from like a really young standpoint. 10-year-old when I saw my first shadow figure, it was one of those bizarre moments of my life. I always kind of grew up watching stuff like that on TV, thinking like, man, it would be crazy to do something like this one day. A little bit scared of it, if I'm being honest with you. But no, we went to a shop out in Buffalo. It's called Paranormal Oddities, ran by a very good dude. His name's Joe as well. The first item we actually picked up was our K2 meter. Kind of just, this is before we were even boarding. We kind of just played the K2 meter around the house. We would like cut off all the lights, cut off all the powers. Actually found that there was something in the home we currently live in. And then we returned to Paranormal Oddities, and they were like, "You guys should get like spirit box and like start recording this stuff." And that's kind of where we went and took off from. Just kind of started bringing it to the Facebook Live, got our YouTube channel set up. That was really how we really started posting and getting into this whole thing. It's only been about a few months since we've been doing lives now, but it's been catching on and getting pretty popular. We've been having a lot of fun with it. And just desire to keep it real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a good approach. I know there's some, more on the TV and, some YouTubers that are a little bit of, you know, sensationalize a little
That's what
bit.
we were
We,
watching at first was like Sam and Colby and stuff like that.
yeah,
And we were interested. We had talked about ghosts before, and then like a year or so, a little after a year of being together, the ghost talk was happening and our experiences and talking about it. They kind of people, I guess, to want to find out more about it.
yeah,
Be a little more real about it too, like you said, keeping it real,
yeah.
not being sensationalized and
And
extreme.
I was about to say, back to what you said too, we try to stay as calm as we can during paranormal investigations, just because, I mean, I don't know, if you're running around screaming at someone's house, you're probably going to scare them.
Yeah.
So, like, we want them to come talk to us. We want them to come forward. But yeah, like you said, we don't want to over sensationalize things. We don't want to, buddy, like, oh my God, like I got possessed. Because that's usually not what's going to happen to you on a paranormal investigation.
So, your mission is to provide real and compelling evidence that life exists after death. How do you define compelling evidence? What bar do you guys kind of hold yourself to?
So we like to, we want to see it because me and her both have had like experiences where we've seen things both at a haunted location and just in a home that we might have lived in before. But sometimes it's just not in the cards to actually see it. I personally appreciate the voices, them coming forward to speak and all that fun stuff. Something we kind of stay away from too is like measuring static. Like we have a K2 meter, yeah, but like, a lot of like that bell, what's that EMF rope, I think it's called, where like, supposedly spirit could be walking towards you. Yeah, the candle. Stuff like that. I mean, if you, go like this, you're creating static. So it's like that's something that
It's fun to like give people that if we're doing a hunt with someone, they can walk around with it and hold it, but like cell phones even can make them just getting a text or something can make it just go to red like in your nearby. So
yeah. And if you know how to use items like that, like dead belt, for example, if say you have a dead belt go off once, to me, that's not like real, authentic, compelling evidence, like you said. That's kind of, but now if you're like, okay, can you ring the dead belt twice if this, or that? And it goes ding, ding. that's a little more, or like, oh,
Yeah.
the cake are too red.
When it implies
Yeah,
like the possibility of being something else.
paranormal, whatever
Yeah.
makes it.
Yeah, when it's, when you ask it something and it actually does what you ask it to do is really much more compelling.
Like conversation.
Yes.
Back and forth.
Something that we like to do too. I'm not sure if you caught this one of our videos. We go with the word pickle just because that was the word we were taught to use. And because it's not, when you're using a spirit box or something, not many stations are going to be talking about pickles. So if you get that little bit of interference on it and you hear something that says pickle, okay, now we might actually have something that's speaking with us and willing to speak with us.
Yeah, true. I never thought to do that. That would be something. As a two-person team, what does each of you bring to an investigation?
First.
I'm the camera. I just do the camera work and record him. He's really good at, talking and explaining things and stuff like that.
Yeah, like she said, I'm kind of more of like the talker. She doesn't like to be on camera for whatever reason. I think that just between the two of us, we kind of like make a really good team where we both kind of have the same demeanor when doing this. Very calm, very, practical about things. And just our mission is pretty much the same. We really want to like show other people like, hey, it's not that bad or that scary. You know what I mean? And like, we want other people to investigate and like help the community grow and really like help each other be a better ghost hunter or paranormal investigator, whichever you'd like to call it. And we want more people to try it and do it because, like, even though there's only two of us, it's almost like, the more hands on deck, the better, in our opinion. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? If we go to a haunted location and we experience something, and say you go to a haunted location, you experience something similar or the same thing, maybe it's like, that's again pretty compelling to us.
Yeah, that's kind of it's more of evidence that, when multiple people experience the same thing at different times.
Yes, exactly.
Can you guys kind of walk me through a typical investigation night?
Yeah, absolutely. Usually, us personally, everyone's different with this aspect. We like to take a little tour of the place, know like, who resided there, who, kind of what spirits linger.
You take the details that were, that are known, I guess, previously before we go in.
Then we kind of like, we always seem to start out in a basement of a haunted location for whatever reason. Yeah, we kind of like, when we do it, we kind of like to build our way, like say, like Wildwood, for example, where you see us go. If you include the basement, I want to say there's 4 floors of Wildwood. There's basement, first floor, Tom's room with second floor, and then
There's
the very top floor. So we kind of like to like go up through the building and just kind of like see where it takes us. You know what I mean? Like in our first Wildwood video, we actually heard a lot from Tommy when we were both in the basement and downstairs. And we're getting pretty heavy indicators like this wants us to go up to Tommy's room.
and
So
then, it's like there was a little kid that wanted us to come upstairs.
yeah,
Go somewhere else, obviously, be somewhere else. So
right. Yeah, so we kind of like, in a sense, we have like an idea of what we like to do, but we kind of let the spirit kind of guide us in a sense, where our next move would be, where we should further investigate. Maybe it's easier for them to communicate in a room, or maybe they just want us out of there quicker. I don't know.
Trying to get you out of there. So what equipment do you guys rely on most and why?
REM pod is very good just to let you know if something's there and present with you. EVP, if you get a class A EVP, there's really not much better than that can go.
Keep the temperature thing off of the pod.
Yes, with the REM pod.
Because a lot of, cool breezes or someone just walking by can set that off. So we turn that off. So it's specifically just set to if something is in that area. To confirm that again.
Yeah. Cat ball, it's not that they go off often, but when they do, it's incredible. Just because, something
They never go off.
Yeah. Something like you can like set one down, turn it on. You could stomp all around the floor on it. Unless something is actually touching the cat ball, it doesn't go off.
It doesn't.
Which
It's going off like crazy.
Yeah.
We liked the cat ball.
When you go to Wildwood, you'll actually see like a little shelf in his room. He's got a bunch of like little toys and knickknacks. So we thought, good idea to put the cat ball there because he might be trying to touch something or play with something that's on that table. So that's where we set it. And in the video, man, it was going crazy.
It
Yeah.
seemed like you liked it.
Yeah. For whatever
Yeah.
reason, EVPs, spirit box, all great things, especially if like I said, like, you know how to use them. Like if you can get them to repeat something you said that wouldn't be on a radio, that's amazing through spirit box.
Yeah, that's great. And now, how do you guys approach debunking before claiming it's paranormal?
You watch a lot of footage over.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when we watch footage, we can't, it like, for example, like a 3-hour video is probably going to take us like 5 to 6 hours to review that footage. Just because, I mean, you know, you're watching it through, which is 3 hours. I want to see, like, did somebody move? Did somebody, you know, like, did one of us maybe like tap a little too hard? Even while we're live on Facebook, we'll even do that to see if, like,
Yeah, we're like our biggest critic.
yeah,
The footage, we're like, all right, was that somebody moving? We just want to make sure it's legit.
right, yeah, because
Something that one of us did or tipped over or something, you know, and trying to claim that as paranormal.
yeah, we don't want to look stupid. We don't want anyone to feel stupid for believing our word, because trust me, that's the last thing you want in this field. You fake it once, you're done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's to say you're not going to do it again and play more people for suckers, which unfortunately people do.
And that's what makes this field look shady sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Now, I think you had mentioned earlier that after each investigation, you've gone through all the evidence. You guys do a podcast and kind of go over that evidence. Has there ever been a time that you've came out of an investigation and maybe you thought, oh, I didn't get anything at all, and then you review the evidence and you find a whole bunch, or vice versa?
It's probably one of the houses where we're hearing things that we weren't physically hearing with our earphones.
Yeah. So we actually have this one camera. We actually got it off Amazon. So this wasn't even like from like paranormal store or anything like that, but it was the first IR night camera that we were able to get. And this thing, man, it picks up some VPs, I'll say, voice phenomenons, where, like, you know, you didn't even hear that. Like,
For being a little $100 camera, like
Yeah.
a little microphone on top picks up things you don't hear with your regular.
and even like with the spirit box sometimes, like, and I mean, maybe it's because, you know, when you're watching a recording, you're able to play it back, play it a little slower. Like, what was that said? But there's times where, like, we get like, oh, wow, we didn't hear that response when we were initially asking the question, or, you know, hey, say this phrase. And then we'll watch it back on the footage, like, damn, they really were talking to us. Like, it all goes back to being able to really like transfer what's on that other realm to our realm, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. So I think now we're going to kind of transfer into a few of the places that you guys have investigated. At least I saw, I think, on your YouTube or Facebook. The first place, Iron Island Museum, I believe you guys went to.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, Iron Island Museum is a former church built in 1883 that was later became, I believe, a funeral home, with 24 unclaimed cremated remains found in the basement when the current owners took it over. Kind of what drew you guys to go to that location, and what were you hoping to find there?
So, I mean, obviously, we're always hoping to find a spirit, but oh my gosh. Yeah. So that night it was actually insane because, like you said earlier, like we felt like we weren't getting much. But when we were watching the video back and like towards the end of the live feed, the spirits were actually mad with me because when, like you said, it was a funeral home at one point. We went out, we entered through what's called the dead door. So, like, at the end of the funeral service, they take the casket, they go through that door. That was the door I knocked on and walked in through. Spirits
Oh.
weren't happy about
Yeah,
it.
we were supposed to come in on the side
Yeah.
and then come in through it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you pissed them off right off.
Right off the rip, man. They did not want to speak with us. But yeah, no, we actually got a decent amount of activity there. What made us want to go there, we're from the Buffalo area. I'm from Lackawanna, South Buffalo, West Side area. So that, like, when you talk about like haunted places in Buffalo, that's one of like the very first ones that come up. People there are really great. And that's something that we really take into consideration too, is who's running the show. You know what I mean? Because we want real compelling evidence. We've heard stories of people who run haunted locations, and they do such dirty tricks to people. Like they'll like place a flashlight on a shelf and like put their hand in front of it and like make it look like, oh, that's shadow figure, that's shadow figure. So we really take like the places we go, we want them to be truly authentic and actually haunted, because
Yeah.
I mean that's what we want to interact with. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
even you get it that night once in a while, and that's fine. But yeah, being from Buffalo and just the surrounding area, and we're both really into like history and like historic buildings and like the background of places like that. So I think that's kind of one of the things that drew us to Iron Island.
Did now did you guys? I know you said you did get some evidence. Two of the most frequently reported presences there, I think, is Edgar and I don't. Oh, I didn't write the other one down. But did you encounter any like Edgar or any other spirit during your time there?
What is that time ago, right? What happened to you?
That's actually, I remember when we first started. So when we first went up there, the tour guide, I believe her name was Lisa. Or was it? Okay, yeah. They have like a little ladder set up to this like little crawl space. And they're like, if you want, you go up the ladder, you say hi to Edgar, ask if he'll help with your investigation that night. So I go up the ladder and I just kind of look around the crawl space to, talk to Edgar, so to speak. And I saw a little red dot like in the crawl space. So night goes on. I didn't think anything. I thought it was like a camera or, just maybe like, I don't know, like it just looked like a little red light. So I asked the woman, I was like, do you guys have like cameras like up in the crawl space or anything? And she's like, no, why? And I was like, well, when I went up there to say hi to Edgar and asked you to help with the investigation, I saw a little red dot. And she was like, that's not something that's ever happened there before. And the space happens to be right above Edgar's room. And like you said, he's one of the more active, more will let you know he's there spirits.
Yeah. Yeah. Crawl spaces and me do not get along. I don't know what it is. Like I live in an old house and we have a crawl space for our attic. I can tell you that I went up there once since we bought it in 3 years. The reason I don't like it is I think I watched maybe it's The Haunting or something like that. And I'm trying to remember which haunting it is, but it was the house that Zach Bagans bought and tore down in Indiana. I think it was in Indiana. This is it's not trying to remember anyway, I think it was that one, but that episode of The Haunting where the guy goes up into the attic and like gets pushed backwards, and I don't know if that actually happened, but on the show it did. And
Yeah.
I think, and ever since then I've never had any interest in climbing up a ladder and looking into a crawl space.
No, I feel you. Had I seen that episode, I felt the same way.
I'm like, I really, even if, I don't think my house is like complete, very much haunted, this one that I live in now, but I will not chance that.
No, I feel
Oh,
chance maybe you just fall back off the ladder or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of moving on next to the Wildwood. I know we talked about it a little bit. And for those, I imagine the people in my channel know a little bit about Wildwood because I talk about it quite often. But Wildwood Sanitarium began in, I think, 1900 as a kind of a osteopathic infirmary, was converted into a tuberculosis clinic in 1923, and the patients were subjected to experimental therapies, including UV light treatments, electric battery baths, and bone stretching. How does that kind of darker historical context affect your mindset when going into an investigation?
Take that one.
I'm like trying to think because I'm like dark. I'm like, I feel like we have an experience. Like, we haven't gone to Hinsdale.
Yeah.
It sounds like dark, but I gotta go there to see. But I'm like,
So Wildwood Sanitarium, like you said, so this was actually from one of the owners. His name's Zach. He's great.
Yeah.
He was telling me the earliest record they were able to find was from the 1900s. But then he also informed me that before that, they really didn't keep track of like what a building was used for, what it did, or what went on there. So Wildwood, man, it's just such a story there. Like what happened before it was the osteotherapy hospital.
Yeah.
What happened before, all documentation was, really really taken care of. But like lots of deaths. I feel like a lot of people there kind of that was where they spent their, I don't want to say last days, because it was also a TB hospital at a point, which I'm sure
Yeah.
you read about. So it's like for us, when we're dealing with something that like we might think is darker or more sinister, personally, we just remind ourselves that we are here, we are in this present realm. And in a sense, like we are stronger than, something that really might just be trying to spook us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've actually Zach's been on my show. Zach and John.
Okay.
They came on probably about a month, 6 weeks ago to promote their Paraclue podcast. And of course we talked about Wildwood a little bit, but also I actually have my own overnight investigation coming up at the Wildwood on May 16th with the Misfits Paranormal Crew. So I kind of have to ask, what should I expect walking in there?
I feel at home. I don't know why.
Yeah, like because the house I grew up in, and she kind of grew up in the same house, like not in the same house, but same type of house.
Yeah.
But it's more of like an old style, like I grew up in like an old farmhouse where Wildwood reminds me exactly of that. And I will say, when you're gonna get the craziest activity at Wildwood is when you turn your back and you least expect it. That's gonna, because we slept there too. We actually, that was our first overnight that we did as well, like actually sleeping somewhere.
I reckon.
Once we turned the cameras off and we stopped, going live and investigating, I swear, like every like 10 minutes, it seemed like you'd hear bump, knock, feet shuffling. It's like, what the hell is going on up here? Like, almost to the point where like you feel like someone might be in the house with you, and there's not. Well, in our realm, there's not, but
Yeah. I'm excited. I think we talked on Instagram a bit about I lived in a haunted house for about 2 years, but you know, I'm excited to go. It's gonna be my first overnight, first actually like to go investigate. I am planning to go, I think, live on TikTok, most likely, because it's just to me, I think TikTok is the simplest to go live on. Facebook is probably second, but I find YouTube a little bit more difficult for some reason.
it's funny you say that. I was actually looking into doing like a YouTube live one of these days in the future. So trying to get like our YouTube account set up for all that. Man, it's been a nightmare. Where Facebook was just kind of like, go live and you're live. TikTok,
Yeah,
person.
TikTok's easy. I have the app, and basically you push a lot. You set it all up, and you just push live, and it brings you up, and it get like counts down, and then you're live. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to go live TikTok for a little bit, that night. But we're heading down the day before because we're 7 hours away. It's a
Oh,
7 hour drive, so
oh,
we're going to actually go spend the night, and then I don't know what we're going to do during the day yet. I did mention to them the Hinsdale house. I did mention that too. I said it's not far, I don't think, from Wildwood.
I think it's a 30-minute trail.
Yeah. So, I said, even if we just go and even if we don't get to go inside it, but just go and see it.
Both offer day tours too. So like if I'm sure Zach and John, all that.
Yeah.
If you were to message them and be like, hey, could we like kind of like take a daytime tour or do like a deep history dive of it? I'm sure he'd be glad to do that. Like you said, Hinsdale too does very similar thing where they do like a daytime tour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
as we get a little bit closer, we'll be, finalizing what we're going to probably do
Right.
but we just didn't want to, you know, driving 7 hours and then staying up most of the night and then having to drive back the next day.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're
So,
gonna be in the mountains. It's beautiful. There's no noise pollution. Wildwood, like the area Wildwood is in, there's a couple like neighboring houses, but still, like they are quiet.
It
Like,
was so quiet.
yeah, we went outside, took a little break from our live, charged our equipment and everything. Man, the neighborhood, you could hear a pin drop like in the neighborhood. It is
Wow.
quiet.
At Wildwood, what were the most active rooms that for you guys? Just for me to make a mental note for.
No, started recording like the lights too.
Oh, the seance room.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
the Ouija board.
yeah,
Oh, is there a
Kitchen.
Ouija board room?
There's like a
yeah.
kitchenette off of the seance room, and it has a bunch of Ouija boards like all over,
Oh,
just kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
It's really small, but it's a really cozy little kitchenette. I don't know. I didn't really feel
Yeah. Seance room was really cool. Later into our first investigation there, I seen something that like people would call a sparkler effect, where it almost just looks like little sparks going on. And I asked her, I'm like, did you just see that? She didn't happen to see it or catch on video. But with my own eyes, I was able to saw what looked like electrical sparks just forming around this corner by like, the door would go up on the third floor. And
Yeah.
that was really cool. Tommy's room and the library were also very active that night too.
yeah, that was.
Yeah, the doll room wasn't. I thought it would be really active just because I mean, creepy dolls, but but the library was active. Third floor, it was active, but that was like after we stopped like doing the live recording and everything.
Oh, that's when it started.
Yeah. Zach there is actually on a very good thought that like maybe not like I don't want to say not haunted, but like that the people that reside there, because that building just has so much history behind it. Like you said, it was an osteotherapy hospital, it was TB hospital, and at a point it was like converted into like 3 floors of like apartment buildings.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's timelines like running into each other. You know what I mean? And overlapping and just kind of like
It seemed like when we were in Tommy's room, there was because Tommy is from like when it was more of an apartment, right?
yes.
Tommy is from more when the place was an apartment building still. And then there's a guy that gets like grumpy about a kid being in the room with him. And I think they're clashing timelines, and there's a guy that's maybe dying or sick with TV in bed, and there's this kid just running around, and he's like, like, I don't want him in here. He's too loud.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. He seemed like upset that there was a kid present in the room with him.
Yeah. And then the second thing we went, we actually had on the spirit box enhancer. It almost sounded like where we had that like beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep. It almost sounded like someone like hooked up to like life support or like a heart monitor or something like that. That was just kind of like
Constantly beeping.
yeah, that like
Over
you know,
the
Oh.
sphere. It was crazy that it wasn't a radio station. This was like a constant
yeah.
beep. Like it
Yeah.
was so weird hearing it through the.
Yeah.
And I've always, I think when I talked with Zach and John, they mentioned that the basement has been a little more active than it had been in the past.
And
Did you guys have much luck down there?
tons. Yeah, we had tons down there. A lot of voices through the spirit box. Did we end up getting tapped that
I
night
was
too?
gonna say we went there Brett too.
Yeah.
We went there twice. Technically.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been there twice now.
I was gonna say I feel like the second time.
Yeah.
was the first.
Yeah, a technique that we use too, and I'm sure Zach will tell you about it. They have a actual embalming table down in the basement down there. If you get a chance, have someone do Estes method, lay on the embalming table. Because that's when we started getting like a lot of voices. I actually got touched a couple times when I was on the table. Like the one time was almost like someone like generally like grabbing my shoulder or something like that. Like, hey, like what's this guy doing on the embalming table? Someone was grabbing at my feet at a point.
And that's why I'll like pan around and be like to show like I'm not touching him or like
Yeah.
near him, so people don't think I'm like rocking the
right. Yeah.
just something.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's cool.
That was crazy. I was like, my gosh, I'm not touching. Like
Yeah.
something's sitting there touching.
So, I believe Wildwood was featured on Paranormal Lockdown, if I remember correctly, with Nick Groff. Does media coverage on a location help or hurt an investigation? In your opinion?
Depends who it is. Straight up, like I said earlier, some people unfortunately choose to fake things or overstimulate things or just make something more than what it was. And like I said, those people's word once you're caught doing something like that once, I mean, for me it's hard to take anything you say with a grain of salt. You know what I mean?
People that
Reputable.
Reputable people that like don't.
Yeah,
So I'd
exactly.
be like, just let them know you don't need because we want people to see this and
Experience.
experience it if they want to, or just have an understanding
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, I would agree. Once you've been caught faking it, it's really hard to come back from that. There's certain people that I've stopped watching that, have been caught that way, and I stopped watching.
Like overreact to like, oh my god, the REM pod went off, so let's run across the house and see what it is. Like, why? Like
No, you've been touched.
Yeah, like it's like why like it did what you wanted it to do. Why are you
Yeah.
running and screaming?
Why are you
Like,
that surprised?
yeah,
Like,
like it to me it makes no sense.
I don't know if there's
Yeah.
no because some people genuinely think it's not going to happen, and
Right.
then when it does happen, some people are genuinely like mind blown. Like, oh my gosh, like I really didn't think that was going to happen. So, like, understand, you know, some people having a realistic, more realistic, but like to get up and fly on your seat. And, oh my god,
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, calm down. You're gonna sit up.
right, exactly.
I'll let-
But
I guess in their defense, the one thing I could say is, there is, if you're looking for the younger demographic, they
right,
want, their attention spans are not very long. So they need that energy to be able to keep them watching. So I guess, but I consider it more, that's more entertainment than,
like movies like The Conjuring, like we've seen them, but in my younger years when I was, 10, 11, 12, like you said, because that's who that is aiming at. It's like, oh my God, like this is terrifying. Right. Yeah. But then it's like now we watch The Conjuring. We're just picking apart the movie. Like that Shiva wasn't this terrible person. Like she just has a scary name. Like
yeah. Yeah. So I guess, we spent quite a bit of time on Wildwood. So I have one more kind of location that I think you guys have been to, the Dunkirk Lighthouse. And again, for anyone that doesn't know, the Dunkirk Lighthouse dates back to 1826 and houses a significant collection of military artifacts from World War One, World War II, and the Korean War, where reported activity, including footsteps, disembodied voices, and unexplained touches, have been reported. So, what kind of drew you guys to that location?
that was actually the second location I did before we started doing lines, right? We had Greystone and then we went to Dunkirk, I want to say in like late summer. We did a lot of yeah, well, it was our second time there. Drew us to the lighthouse, honestly. He might have.
I can't remember if you had mentioned it to him. How we came across
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, she's more from like the rural area of New York where there's like forests and trees everywhere. Not to say Dunkirk's like the same thing, but it's not far from where she grew up. And there's just like a lot of history there. And like me personally, as well as her, I'm really into like what happened and like, like war and stuff like that. Like, I like the whole history museum aspect
Because
of
of
it.
the history, know what's being said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. While you're out here, I don't know if you plan to go there, but they also do daytime tours. Great place to visit. A lot of cool stuff. There is a flag in there that was from Italy, but it's a Nazi flag, which is insane to me. But we have to talk about the dark part of history when we
Yeah.
talk about it, or we're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
And Schlag is huge. And we actually, both times we went there, before we did the live and during the live, we actually got a man with a thick German accent, like barely understood like English, but
Ghosts speak different languages too. Like
Wow.
words you don't expect that until it starts happening. Oh crap, that's right.
yeah,
Someone might be speaking German.
Yeah.
I don't understand them.
a lot of like old natives. Like we've actually had one that wasn't really communicating, but it was only because didn't know what we were saying. So as soon as I said a Native American phrase, I said how, like hello for them. It said it right back, clear as day to the spirit box.
It was talking like it knew very little.
Yes.
Very
Oh,
it was
Yeah.
talking about like trading and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it knew very few English words, so that's why we were like, oh, American.
yeah. Now, I know that I think there was 21 different lighthouse keepers over the years, and the lore says that, a bunch of them did not truly ever leave. Did you guys encounter any of those lighthouse keepers?
Yeah, one of the most active there was Peter Dempsey. It was the first time we went there, and this was before we started doing our live and everything like this. The Dunkirk Lighthouse is actually like really special to us because that was like the first investigation we did where we went back and like we talked to people in the paranormal community, and they were like, "You guys should really start like doing this live and everything." But yeah, Peter Dempsey is one of the most active spirits there.
his picture is like sitting on a piano in what you would call, I guess, a living room
Yeah.
in the lighthouse, and I think we heard piano
Yeah.
playing over the spirit box at a point too, and then Dunkirk Dave told us
Yeah.
that he liked piano music, and I was like, oh my gosh! So we would play a little piano music here and there,
Yeah.
just to get things going.
Yeah, that's something we would do to like kind of like, make spirits. I want to say trigger, but we'll like play like piano music or something like that from their era to be like, hey, like, what's going on here tonight? Like,
Or bring them in a track the music. They're like, oh,
little whiskey shooter or something like that.
Yeah. So across all the locations you've investigated, what is the single piece of evidence you've captured that you find the hardest to explain away?
Would it be the face peeking on us?
Face speaking.
The face that peeks out, and then
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that was actually a really good one. We actually have Reels, Facebook, Instagram. It's short on YouTube too, where we're in what she said would be like considered, I guess, the living room of the Dunkirk Lighthouse. And it almost just looks like something peeks its head, sees us see it, and then pokes it right back.
It was like white, if that makes sense. Like a smoky looking, like how a ghost would look, like, and how people would expect. Like, it was crazy. I didn't see it on the camera because I was just panning around and looking actively while the camera was panning around. And we looked over the footage, and he caught it that there was something that had peeked out, and it seen me like see it, not me physically see it, but the camera light was like shining that way on it, and it like dipped back in real quick, like to get out of shot and like hide.
Another one that I think is really good. People think I'm crazy, but when we watch the videos back too, we start to see like pixelations form, and sometimes these pixelations are just nothing. You know
It
what I
doesn't
like?
happen while I'm recording, like live too. That's the thing. I'm not actively. It's not being slow. It's not
Right.
being, buffering. I don't know why it does it, and I don't see it.
So when we start to see the pixelations, what I do is I kind of like take it like frame by frame, where it's like pause, unpause, pause, unpause. Okay, that was nothing. But then there's sometimes like, okay, that was something. So we were doing the one Dunkirk Lighthouse again, which we were in the living room, same area as we saw the figure peeking at us. And I see the pixelation start to happen. So I'm like, okay, pause, unpause. There is a little girl standing right next to the piano. And when I pause it on these pixelations, it looks just like the shape of a little girl in a Victorian
Like
dress.
there's like a shadow outline, or like with really
Wow.
short hair.
Yeah. I could also like see details in this figure.
Also, walking down the basement stairs towards us.
Okay, yeah, that was not a good one. We were down in the basement, and we were, we're recording and everything, and you hear like step, and something is like moving towards us down the stairs, the basement at the Dunkirk Lighthouse.
Yeah.
And
Recording live, I didn't see anything until we watched the footage back.
And when you play it back, you literally hear step, like it's just coming down. So like, hey, I'm here.
Sounds like heavy wood being creaking from like a heavy foot. If that makes sense. That's what it was like. Sound like wood creaking from like steps being taken down the stairs.
Well, if you
I was gonna say I didn't catch it on we didn't catch it on camera, but I did see a shadow in the Dunkirk Lighthouse. If you ever make your way there, it's really great. But upstairs, there's like they have all four branches of the military like set up in like different rooms. There's like an Army room, a Navy room, Air Force room, and a Marine room. So I believe we were standing in the Marine room, and I was looking into the Army room, and person was under Estes. I'm looking straight into the other room, and I saw it was maybe a split second or two. Someone was just standing there, and I said, I see you. And it just kind of went right away. And it's like, you can't see me. The person in Estes actually said, you can't see me. And I was like, I just did.
what I was going to say is, if you guys want, do you guys have that clip of at the lighthouse of the figure like peeking in and out? Because if you do, I can put it in the description below if you'd like the link to it.
Send it over to you as soon as wrap up here and everything.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put it in the description. So if anyone wants to check that out, if they haven't seen it,
It'd be awesome. Thank you.
I think you guys mentioned you guys have been to the Greystone Manor.
Yes. That was a little bit before we started doing lives and everything like that. We went with like a small group of friends, It was a good
Well,
night
I
though.
only asked. Heather was one of my first couple. Heather Matson from the
Oh
Greystone. She was one of my first couple interviews when I started doing the podcast.
yeah, she's
And one
awesome.
of yeah, she was awesome. She sent me over like the whole history of the house, and we had some great interaction, and she was telling me about all the different things there. One personal story: when I went to record that interview, I used to put my dogs in their kennel before I would do any of the interviews. Well, I went to put them upstairs in the kennel. I walked by my bathroom upstairs. I saw a full shadow figure in my bathroom. Kind of startled me. So I went down, I got on with Heather. We did the whole interview after I told her, I said, it was weird. I saw a full shadow figure in my bathroom. I said, I haven't seen a shadow figure since my my old house 20 years
Right.
ago. And she was like, oh, it was probably one of ours. They like to check on people that are if I'm in an interview, sometimes they check on people on. It was strange though. I was like, I haven't seen it since. So I think she was right.
Zach, guy at Wildwood, was saying to us, he believes that spirits can't just like go to the places where they lived. They can go to any place they, might have been or maybe wanted to go. But not only that, they can go to whatever time period they want and, experience what could that be like
Anywhere, at any time.
anywhere, anywhen. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that's actually
figured I'd put that story in there since I heard you guys say you had gone there. But I just
yeah.
thought that was very interesting because I've still not seen that shadow figure again. So I do believe it was from the Greystone.
No, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, honestly. It's like there's like almost like a set of rules for what happens on that side of the realm that they just can't
Yeah.
tell. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They might not understand the physical realm of
Yeah.
their realm.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know they're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just confused
Yeah.
about what happened.
Yeah. I believe you guys have two upcoming investigations that I imagine my audience would love to know about. I think the Hinsdale house and the winery at Marjim Manor. Can you tell me about those and kind of, you know, what people
Yeah.
can expect when they are?
So Margin is actually next week Saturday. It snuck up on us really fast, honestly. But no, yeah, there's a pretty good amount of lure behind Margin Manor. The owner said we do a little bit of research on the places we go to and everything like that, like we said. And we actually heard that everybody that has died there is always 3 p.m. on a Thursday. So yeah, that's one of the very cool things about Margin Manor, where there's not too much available on it, but
Even the dog died at 3 p.m. on Thursday.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But we're gonna find out more. We're gonna attempt to do a live on our Facebook page with that one if anyone's interested in, tuning in, watching, seeing some more lure behind that. But yeah, no, we're very excited about that. It's a wine vineyard that's been around since I want to say the 1800s. That's that. And yeah,
Really
this
nice. It's a really good conditions.
beautiful building. They serve food, wine. Yeah. So
There's
we're,
like a wine tasting thing where she goes over the stories of everyone that has passed, and it's like a wine based off that person.
yep,
oh,
yep.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely a little more different, but definitely exciting. And drink some wine and talk about some ghosts.
And
Um,
then
I'm
you
sorry,
guys
go
have
ahead.
the Hinsdale house, I think, sometime in April, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was actually April 6th, the day after Easter. We're going to the Hinsdale house. Tons of story behind that, lots of lore. People say that it's not only the house, but it's also the land surrounding the house. And again, Joe, our good buddy at Paranormal Oddities, he told us that people, because he used to investigate it very heavily. And so he would talk to the people in the neighborhood. People, it's on its own like little hill and it's away from everything else. And he even said people at like the bottom of the hill and everything, even they get activity in their home. So
Wow.
it's definitely a thing with the land. Could be Native American, could be whoever knows what. But yeah, no, we're very excited about that one. There's supposedly an alpha there that kind of like runs the show.
That's my word of alien life around.
Yeah, yeah. He was telling us there was a little like, little little shadow figure. And he said, I think your cloaking device is off. And as soon as he said that, the thing went away. Like just kind of walking into the living room. That
I was gonna say, he said he thought he saw like what looked like a gray in the tree line.
yeah.
So you gotta get a flashlight.
Yeah.
No.
We're staying the night there, but we're gonna sleep in the car because there's been stories of people being like their faces and everything like that being touched. The Dandy family who lived there in the 70s, burns and scratches while they would sleep and wake up with. I don't want to give it a chance on me while I'm asleep.
I
And
also
I've heard stuff follows you home from there. I've heard of a couple people have told me that. What do you
Well,
guys do to protect yourselves?
that's why I'm like, oh, is this gonna be the the darkest place we've been because
Yeah.
of what has happened here compared to like some of the other places we've been, where people get scratched or the house is shooken or they see things or you get touched in your sleep, stuff like that. That's why I'm like,
As far as protection goes, we have ourselves and we have each other. That's as deep as we go with it. That house actually had an exorcism performed on it, and it just made things worse.
Oh no.
Yeah, like
I think I heard that.
It's in there, and to our personal belief, I don't know. I mean, people can do whatever they want. If bringing a crucifix or holy water, any of that stuff that makes you feel more comfortable, do it. Absolutely do it. But at the end of the day, you really just got to believe.
you just gotta basically have faith.
Yeah,
Whether it's yourself, your religious piece, I just believe that my energy, I am physically here,
yeah.
literally in the flesh and blood. So you can't even physically appear in front of me when I ask you to. So I'm not scared.
We'll definitely let you know if something follows us back.
Yeah.
Just a couple more questions that I had for you guys. For someone who wants to get into the paranormal investigation but doesn't know where to start, what would your honest advice be?
Go to Paranormal Outings and talk to Joe.
You want
100%
to find a paranormal store with a reliable
source.
yeah,
Yeah,
source.
anywhere near you.
that has years of experience under their belt too. So
Joe, I have a lot of respect for him just because when we first got into all this, I was asking him about like Ovilus, and that piece of equipment costs like $600-700. So he actually told me, he's like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not really a piece you need. Pointed me in a different direction and saved me a bunch of money. Stuff like that, not just from a financial standpoint, but from just being a person. You know what I mean? Just being upfront and being honest, being truthful. That's really what you look for.
Yeah, some places I'm sure get people for a lot of money that aren't reliable and maybe just sell these things for fun, not as a ghost. Might
Right.
be racking up the prices and just telling people, oh, you will need that, or something. So it was nice that he wasn't trying to take advantage of us. So I feel like you can trust somebody when, they're very truthful and not trying to rip you off.
Yeah, because he could have dragged us through a cold, like, oh, you need an EMF rope, oh, you need a candle, oh, you need an Ovilus. Like,
Reliable paranormal store. You can find it. Start there because don't start in your house.
yeah,
Don't don't get a Ouija board, just, off the rip and try to conjure something up in your house. Like, don't do that.
right.
Before it first, before you want to try to go that far.
Another great thing about him, he does things like workshops in his venue there where you could actually, like, you talk about things and you talk about equipment, what they could do, what they're capable of.
They'll have, like, before, some people buy a spirit box, there was a workshop for it. So you could test them out and see if you really wanted to, go forward and buy one. So you would have a whole bunch, we took one of the things, even though we had a spirit box and brought it. Some people didn't have a spirit box. So then that changed the, thing for them that they were like, oh, I'll get this piece, I'll invest in this piece.
Yep. And whenever you do a workshop, there always leads to, hey, let's investigate the venue. And in his building, there's been like death and everything there. It was a hospital at one point. So he's a great person, great place to start. And even if like you don't have something like that in your neighborhood, I would say, especially people like us, our inbox is always open. You know what I mean? Like we're in this, we're not going to judge anybody. We're not going to make anyone feel lesser about anything.
It's a learning.
Exactly.
As long as you're just keeping it real, there's always room for learning new things.
Yeah. Reach out to a paranormal investigator. Like, maybe shoot them a message. Obviously, like the bigger stars and stuff like that, they're not going to see your message, unfortunately. But, on like our level, feel free to DM. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what do you think of this? What's your experience on that? Like, a lot of people in this field are a lot of the good ones, they're very open-minded, and
I feel like you're either open-minded or you are scared and just try not to acknowledge it.
yeah,
Some people are like, "Oh, I gotta go somewhere else." And
yeah.
just ignore it instead of like, "Oh, talk to it."
Just, why are you here?
Yeah. No, I found the same way. I've only been in the in the paranormal kind of community since it's been a little over a year now, and doing these podcasts. I've only been doing them since August, but I find a lot of people are very open, and if you have a question, they're more than willing to answer it for you.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of my final question: where can everyone find you guys?
We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. So pretty much if you have internet access, any one of those three, feel free to give us a follow. Like I said, our DMs are always open. Give us a subscribe on Facebook or YouTube subscribing. But yeah, no, those are pretty much our three platforms right now. We tried toying around with TikTok a little bit, but maybe I'm just technologically ignorant or something with it.
I don't mind TikTok. It sounds like a good idea, but the last time I had a TikTok running, it like booted me off it and then was like, "Oh, this TikTok account doesn't exist." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I made it and made videos of my dogs on there and stuff." I was like, "It should exist." And then they like made
Mm.
a whole new one, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that again." I was like, "We're just not gonna." That was just
Well, I'll
why
make sure to. I'll put your just if you guys I'll put all your links in the description below,
Awesome.
as well, so that everybody can, if they want to go check you guys out, they'll be able to on whatever their preferred platform is.
Yeah, a lot of Facebook, Instagram for communication. But if you're into like watching ghost hunts and like watching paranormal investigations and you want, true, authentic, real paranormal investigations,
YouTube.
YouTube's perfect. All our videos are still there. We share them to our Facebook, our Instagram, all that stuff as well.
Okay. Well, Joe and Serenity, this has been a fantastic conversation, and I'll make sure to try to catch you guys' upcoming investigations at the winery and the Hinsdale house. And just a reminder to all of my people, I'm heading to Wildwood in May on May 16th with the Misfits Paranormal Crew for the overnight investigation. So stay tuned for more on that. You can find Other Side Investigations on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Links will be and remember, history never truly dies. It just finds new ways to haunt us. Till next time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we